Welcome back to another rousing round of notes on video. This chapter, chapter 9 in the book, has to do with cellular respiration and the breakdown of energy, which is pretty much photosynthesis backwards. We learned that plants take sunlight energy and they put that energy into electrons, which eventually gets put into glucose molecules. So now we're going to learn how we take glucose molecules and break them open to get that energy back for us. So this title, even though in the book it says it's cellular respiration, I'm calling it breakdown of energy because there's lots of different ways besides respiration to get this done. So this is just some basic information about energy from the sun and how we got it. So energy, like we learned, photosynthesis transfers the energy in the sunlight into chemical energy in the form of glucose. So the sun's energy went into the chlorophyll, which went into the electrons, which got picked up by the NADPH, which got carried over to the dark reaction, and that energy was stored into glucose. So glucose is the main storage component of energy. So if you can think about it, it's kind of weird, but glucose is actually just little packets of sunshine for us, and they're tasty too. So if I take 1 gram of glucose, not a whole lot, that's 3,811 calories. Now that looks like a lot because we deal with, when we look at calories on labels, we're looking at kilocalories, which is 1,000 times bigger. So 1 gram actually to us, what we recognize is kilocalories, so it's 3.8 kilocalories. So you can take a look at how many calories per gram. We talked about how carbohydrates, one gram gives you 4 calories. Also, you can see where that number came from. 3.8 is close to 4. Now, this type of calorie, which I call chemistry calories, refers to this. It's the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water 1 degree Celsius. So we are made up of water. We have lots of water inside of us. And so the calories that we have inside of us helps to warm up that water to 98.6 degrees Celsius. So you can see we need a lot of calories just to keep us warm. And then we need the rest of those calories in it and the energy in it to help fuel the processes that our cells need. So because we have to eat our food and eat our calories, we are called heterotrophs. Heterotrophs, just like how the plants were autotrophs because they can make their own food, we are heterotrophs, which means we have to go eat our food. We cannot make our own food. So this little guy right here, the little goldfish in his mouth, that is a heterotroph. Okay. Now, how I break down energy depends on what kind of organism I am. Am I a bacteria? Am I yeast? Am I a multicellular organism? And where is it occurring? Is there oxygen around? There's lots of different things that will determine how you break down your sugar. So there's 2 main ways. Way 1 is called anaerobic respiration. Now you know what aerobics are. That's when you're doing exercise and you're breathing in a lot of oxygen in order to keep your energy up. Excuse me. Okay. So aerobics, which I need to do some of to wake me up, aerobics means that you're taking in oxygen. So anaerobic means without oxygen. So in the absence of oxygen. There's a couple different ways to do this. One way is through a process called glycolysis, which literally means glyco refers to glucose, lysis means to split. So it means to break down or to split glucose into 2 molecules of what are called pyruvic acid. Another way of doing it is something called fermentation, which you're somewhat more familiar with. Fermentation breaks down the pyruvic acid into other things like alcohol, lactic acid, carbon dioxide, different things. So there's 2 types of fermentation, alcoholic and lactic acid. Alcoholic fermentation turns pyruvic acid into alcohol and carbon dioxide, whereas lactic acid fermentation turns it into lactic acid. And you're probably familiar with it due to if you exercise or you run. When you run out of oxygen too quick, your body switches over to fermentation, lactic acid fermentation, and the lactic acid builds up in your muscles and makes your sides hurt, makes your legs hurt, and so on. So the other type of pathway that, if there is oxygen around, is called aerobic respiration. And this is breaking down sugar with oxygen around. Specifically, the main example is cellular respiration. That's what we do. We do cellular respiration. We break down glucose and we get huge amounts of ATP out of it. And to do so, there's a couple of steps. One, it starts out with there it is. It starts out with glycolysis, which is what we saw was an anaerobic process. But then, if oxygen is around, it'll be followed by the Krebs cycle, which breaks down this molecule called acetyl-CoA into carbon dioxide. We'll talk about that later. And then that gets followed by the electron transport chain, or you might see the word system in there. And this is where our mass quantities of ATP occur. So we're going to break down the notes into small chunks. We'll start with anaerobic and then go over to aerobic, and then we'll even do each of these steps by themselves. Here's a little picture over here. It's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to make it a little bigger for you. Whee! And this just kind of shows the flow of everything. That we have sunlight comes in to the chloroplast, and it makes the two products, oxygen and glucose, which happen to be the ingredients for us. This is a mitochondrion where all this occurs. And then we do cellular respiration, which produces carbon dioxide and water, which, lo and behold, are the ingredients for photosynthesis. So as you can see, it's a nice cycle. Now the sunlight comes in the form of energy here, and it leaves in the form of energy here. So the ATP that we get out of the glucose originally came from sunlight. So it's kind of weird to think that our energy keeping us alive came from the sun. Okay, so that's just it. Nice little introduction. Up next, we're going to talk about anaerobic respiration, which is just breaking down materials without oxygen. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Bye.